Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Let's Talk, the series where if we don't like the gun, we just pick up another. This is your friendly neighborhood Birdman, and today we're talking Borderlands. Borderlands is a film based on the video game series of the same name. It centers around a bounty hunter named Lilith who is recruited by a tycoon to rescue his recently kidnapped daughter on a hostile planet called Pandora. Upon arriving at Pandora, the bounty hunter finds the girl, Tiny Tina, and attempts to take her back to her father, only we learn that there is more to the story than Lilith has been led to believe. I am a big fan of Borderlands. Heck, I recently streamed the spin-off game, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, so my review is going to come from a place of knowing these characters and the story as presented in the games. That being the case, I want to point out that this is an Avi Arad film, and if you're familiar with that name, you know what that means. This looks like the game, but is telling an almost unrecognizable story. Like Spider-Man, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can make a movie based on a video game and tell a compelling story that is not in the games. I think Sonic proved that definitively. But I have to say, it is quite annoying. It reeks of movie studios, directors, and executives thinking they know better than the people that made these games, and we're not talking about obscure games that people have never heard of. Borderlands has a fun and engaging story, and I'm a little annoyed that they changed things this much. As far as the characters, I think they nailed the main characters. Lilith, Roland, Tiny Tina, and Krieg all look and behave like themselves from the game. For the most part anyway. I guess my problem is the casting for Roland and Lilith. They turned Lilith into an old woman and Roland into a short dude by casting Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart respectively. Kate looks great for a 55-year-old, but she's supposed to be playing a 25-year-old. I ain't an ageist or anything, and I felt like she was good in the role, but as a person that picked Lilith for my first playthrough, it is extremely jarring to see her in this role. Hollywood is not hard up for young white girls, so I found her casting peculiar. Same for Kevin Hart. You cast a comedian to play Roland, of all characters, and it sticks out because Kevin is neutering his natural funny self in this movie, and it's obvious he's trying to play against type. Jamie Lee Curtis is also in this film, playing the also supposed to be young Tannis, and I don't know who cast this movie, but it seems like they were just throwing names at the wall. But to be honest, I didn't really mind Jamie because she was actually my favorite actor in the movie, and she was also playing against type with a quirky accent and speaking cadence that I found charming. And, let's just say the titties were tittying. Perfect! I have no idea what the budget for this film was, but it was clearly massive. The production values are insanely good, and they did a wonderful job bringing Borderlands to life. It looks exactly like the games, only not cel-shaded. The psychos look great, and they even have the midgets. And yes, I just used that word because that's what they're called, damn it. And as this game is all about its guns and the wide variety of weapons you can find, I thought they did the weaponry justice too, with the unique reloads of Lilith's guns and the sound effects of Roland's rifle. I only had one issue with the CGI, but that was at the climax of the film that we'll get into in a second. Up until the end of the film, I thought this was a competently made sci-fi action film with great set pieces and seriously good set designs. I was enjoying the plot even through the really forced exposition that is clearly there for people who have never played the games. And speaking of those people, I think the people that are being exposed to this franchise for the first time will be a little annoyed at Claptrap, the wisecracking robot that never shuts up. And believe me, newbies, Claptrap was contentious in the games as well, but grew to be a beloved character that is synonymous with the series. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, your mileage may vary if you're new to this franchise. I think this film's PG-13 rating hurt it, as the games are rated M for mature and are bloody and have adult themes. An R-rated or unrated version would be nice, given the kills and explosions in this thing, but I suppose they're looking to make the most money they can, and parents would look at this very colorful film, assume it was kid-friendly, and send little Timmy to the shadow realm that the Deadpool movies reside in. The ugly side of capitalism. Now, I'm just going to come out and say it. The climax and ending of this film are what ruin it for me. Not only is the giant CGI fest a complete eyesore and just boring, it's one of the most rushed and terrible endings to a film I've seen in a while. I reiterate, I was enjoying this thing right up until the end, and then the movie just went off the rails. You know how sometimes a movie is too long and you wish it cut some things to be shorter? Well, this movie is the opposite, where even at 1 hour and 42 minutes, it feels too short for the story it was telling. The ending rushes up at you and doesn't earn what it thinks it's paying off. Normally in a film, you have 3 acts, where in the first act you introduce your characters, the second act you introduce a problem, and in the third you present a solution to that problem. The second act also tends to give you that fake friendship breaking problem that you know will be solved by the end of the film, and this film is no different. Only the problem is, this movie blends the second and third act, where you're not sure where one ended and the other began. There's some fake tension that is resolved so stupidly, and like it didn't even matter. And then, if you're not a fan of the games, a thing happens that feels too much like a Deus Ex Machina. As a veteran of the series, I understand what they were doing, but it reeked of a person who has never played the game before and doesn't understand why that worked as a balanced game mechanic. So, I like this movie for the most part. I thought the set design and the production as a whole were great. This felt like the games coming to life on the screen, and they didn't shy away from the more colorful aspects of the franchise. All of the actors were fine, even though I feel like at least 3 of them were woefully miscast. The action is great, it is definitely funny, especially Jack Black's claptrap, and even though the story is different, definitely feels like a Borderlands story. However, this is a movie that could have done with a longer runtime because the ending is definitely rushed, and that could leave some people with the impression that this movie is soulless, almost like an expensive cash grab. The CGI in the climax is laughably bad, and you can tell the majority of the film's budget went into creating the world itself. I did not like the way this movie ended, nor the emphasis on the character of Lilith when this is a franchise that lets you choose your character. And I'm saying this as a person that picked Lilith and her subsequent fellow sirens in every game. A C.